Hello everybody, it's Cape Rugby TV time, and we talk about what's happening in the world of West Bromwich Club Rugby. Of course, we are now past the quarterfinals of the top six. We're going to talk about that tonight, as well as the Promotion League and what's happening in the PAR League. All that and more coming up in your show this evening. Big thanks, of course, to our partners on board with us here at Cape Rugby TV, Direct Access, your financial services partner, Score Energy Drinks. As you know, they're on board with Western Province Club Rugby in the Sevens, MChem 24-hour Pharmacy, Yes Electrical, Dulux Maitland, and Intercape, the official transport provided to Western Province Rugby and the DHL Stormers. Let me introduce you to my panel this evening, Jerome Paarwater. Jerome, welcome back.
Yeah, JP, good to be back, and I hope we're going to see some good rugby on Saturday, Faisal.
Yeah, no. Good evening, Japes. Good to be here. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to Saturday. I think this is what it's about. I mean, phone's been inundated with questions and queries, so hopefully tonight we can answer a lot of the questions as to what's happening.
Yeah, well, this is what it comes down to. I mean, it's been almost a year, not a year, but most of the year of rugby, and played through the league structures. Now you've got your top six that played over the weekend in the quarterfinals, and apart from this weekend, next weekend at Newlands. There's a lot of excitement.
No, definitely. I think the next 2 weeks, I think this is what it's all about, that decide who goes up, who comes down. Yeah, I think a lot of people are on their nerves. I think this past weekend, a few upsets. You're not going to comment, you're not going to say anything.
Well, I noticed that the two of you...
I'm glad you're here.
I said I'll be back, and yeah, I must eat my words. I think, yeah, there was a few upsets. But I think ultimately, I think that's what it's about. You know, on the day, it's not just about pitching up, it's about actually playing, and it's about the team that wants it more.
Well, we're going to talk about that tonight, but we're also going to take a look at one of those knockout matches, which was, of course, Belleville and Vineyards. Vineyards, of course, scored that 1-point win over Franschhoek last week to make sure that they got into the Super League B quarterfinals. And then, of course, they had to go and play against Belleville to see if they can get into the semi-finals. We'll take a look at the highlights from the Belleville Vineyards game, and we'll take a look at what the coaches and captains have to say. We've got interviews from Shuaib Davids and Ayub Murat, of course, assistant coach and captain at Vineyards, and then Warren Isaacs, Belleville coach, and Emerton Boyson, Belleville captain. So some of the teams we've spoken to in the year, during the year, but of course they're now in the highlight section, so they get to enjoy the benefits of being on TV for a second time. And then we'll show you game highlights from Durban. They were played against UWC on Monday, and False Bay, who took on Unimill in Super League A. The coaches from the Super League A teams were kind enough to send us the games. Right, folks, and don't forget, of course, it was the launch of the African Bank sponsorship with Western Province Rugby. We'll speak to Faisal Felton about that, and we'll be catching up with some of the highlights from the launch on a Monday evening at Newlands. Fantastic to have sponsorship come on board with Western Province Rugby. Let's take a look now at our first match that we're looking at. False Bay were up against Unimill. It was a big match for both teams because it was a knockout, and only the winner goes into the semi-finals. Those semi-finals, of course, playing out at City Park this weekend. 6 games on the cards. We'll take a look at that schedule of events a little bit later. Stay tuned. Let's take a look now. Highlights, False Bay, Unimill. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. All right, there we go. False Bay, Unimil. Big score there, False Bay 83, Unimil 36. Jerome, looking at that, you can see False Bay were certainly opening the gas.
Yeah, it looks like the Jappy show. If the one Jappy score, then the other Jappy score, or the one Jappy make a try. So it looks like they were running ragged there. But yeah, it's a disappointing score. I mean, we thought that Unimil actually had a chance last week, but unfortunately not to be.
Faisal, why was this match so important?
Yeah, look, I think it's obviously the playoffs decider. I think one thing is that False Bay learned their lesson from last year. I think it's a matter about focusing on the game, putting points on the board, and winning the game. I think last year, the unfortunate thing where they lost out in the semi-finals, I think they learned a lot. And I think going forward, they're not going to make mistakes like this. I mean, if they want to be in the semi-finals, you're going to have to win.
Nevertheless, Unimil has had a fantastic trajectory. Ishmael Dolly and the team, and he's often on Cape Rugby here with us. But he's had a good few years coming from Super League B. It's been a steady climb. This is a kind of growth that movement that you want to see from a team that gets promoted.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's one thing that Unimil has done is the adjustment in Super League A. They've shown that they deserve to be in Super League A, and I think it's a team that people don't take light-heartedly. It's not about just rocking up and thinking that you're going to get points. I think for them, with this result, especially, it's not something that we'd expected. I think we thought otherwise. It'll be a lot more closer. But I think, on the day, False Bay wanted a lot more, and False Bay, I think at the end of the day, they're out there to win it. This coming weekend, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Jerome, has False Bay got their timing right? Things have been a little bit wobbly. They've still been winning their games, but a little bit wobbly. If we compare the beginning of the season, a little bit of a dip, and now it's back on track.
That's actually what you want, JP, and I think Jono will be happy with where the guys are now, because they're actually peaking now. Yeah. As you say, they started off on a high, had a little bit of a dip in the middle of the season, but now they're exactly where they want to be. And it doesn't matter the games that they lost in the mid-season. That doesn't matter now. It's what counts now. And looking at how they play, they're definitely going to give Stellenbosch a tough time.
Yeah, well, they are up against Stellenbosch this coming weekend. Let's take a look at the Super League A fixtures. This is, of course, in the semi-finals. It's happening at City Park this weekend. Faisal, the Super League A fixtures, I'm assuming these two fixtures will be towards the end of the day?
Yes, that'll be the main game on the A and the B field. Will be, the Marties against the False Bay, and then it's Durbanville UCT on the B field. All
right, let's take a look at the pictures, folks. The False Bay then up against Stellenbosch, and UCT up against Durban. Those are your main fixtures. Jerome, let's take a look at the barometer. Of course, critical for both teams to win their games, because their big match is the following weekend on the 21st. Did I get my dates right?
24th.
24th. 24th, of course, where the teams get to play off at Newlands, which is very exciting. So Stellenbosch up against False Bay. Let's look at the barometer. The barometer tells us that in terms of the log, this is, of course, now 1 playing against 4. So Stellenbosch has got, you can ignore the home ground advantage factor here. So if we take away the fan factor, in fact, Stellenbosch still has the advantage, Jerome, if you take away the fan factor, because the fan factor gives them an extra 10 points. But Stellenbosch have scored more on the attack, less on the defense. How do you see it going?
Yeah, if you look at it's sort of even, JP, for me. If you look at the tries, like it's 7 tries to 6 tries. So, and the way False Bay is ending now, I mean, they're on a high. And they've got experienced side. I know Stellenbosch has got young side. If they manage the game properly, False Bay against the youngsters, if they can starve Stellenbosch from ball, which they can do, it's going to be a tough time for Stellenbosch over the weekend.
How many of those Stellenbosch Marties players that are going to be playing on Saturday played during the season?
A lot of the guys. One good thing for Marties is they can use whoever they want to use now. because under 21s are done, Super Sport Challenge are done, Super Rugby are done. They've got a few guys there. So I don't know if Norman Jordan is going to use this guys the coming weekend, but he have the luxury of using guys who played Super Rugby. I mean, Aarons and Edwil van der Merwe, they can all play, so they can have a strong side also.
So he's got a lot of players to draw on.
Yeah.
All right, of course, the other match that's coming up in the weekend is the Durbell versus UWC game. So this is in fact, folks, before we go to the next barometer, let's just wrap up the results then. False Bay beating Unimilden 83-36, and then Durbell on Monday beating UWC 45 points to 3. So big margin there. Jerome, big result there for Durbell over UWs. Is that a fair reflection of what UWC could have done in the season? We know that they've had a great season.
No, I think UWC, their main focus was just to do well in the league, to prepare the guys, and they've actually played with a lot of youngsters and a lot of experienced guys. Their experienced guys are 24, so then they have a lot of 20-year-old guys playing. And on Monday, they sort of played with a lot of the young guns guys, and I know a lot of the guys who played in the Varsity Cup, because that guys need a bit of a break. It was a long season.
Yeah.
And that, and then obviously after the passing of Chester, they were not really, they didn't prepare well. It was a difficult week for them.
Yeah.
So we can understand that also.
Okay. Folks, we're going to take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we'll take a look at the highlights between the match between Durbell and UWC. And then we'll take a look at the barometer. This weekend, it's UCT up against Durbell. Of course, 2 plays 3. It's going to be interesting. Make sure you don't go away, and come right back after the break. Back in a sec. Right, welcome back everybody, it's Cape Rugby TV. Don't forget, during the course of the show, you can win yourself a case of Score energy drinks. That comes up a little bit later during the show. All you need to do is keep your mobile phone handy and SMS the word SCORE to 33090. Of course, as you know, to get into the quarterfinals, the teams had to play each other, and UWC was up against Durbell in a, well, not a midweek game, but a Monday game. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. But there we go. Nice to have those highlights and the opportunity to catch up and see who's playing on the field and just feel the rugby. UCT, of course, at least not UCT, Durbell then up against UWC. Jerome, That looked like some pretty good running rugby there from Durban, running some nice lines.
Yeah, good lines. Obviously, UWC, there's no defense. It's like you can see 4 guys on one. But yeah, as I say, it wasn't a strong UWC side.
But let's focus on Durban. Durban now goes through. They now face against UCT in the semi-finals at City Park this coming Saturday, which of course we're telling all the fans to come out and enjoy the game. It's going to be a full day of rugby at City Park. It's well worth watching some quality rugby. Durban UCT. Let's look at the barometer. We might as well take a look at that to get the ball rolling, so to speak. So UCT, of course, are sitting at number 2. They play up against number 3. And if you just look at some of the log points there, then UCT 64, Durban 57. And the strike rate there for UCT, 93% win ratio versus Durban's 71% ratio. And the home and away factor in favor of UCT. Jerome, UCT have got the better attack according to the stats, better defense according to the stats. We can take away the fan factor the same as we did with Stellenbosch in their barometer meeting against False Bay. But even with that, UCT has still got the advantage on the barometer. Which way is it going to go?
This time I'm going to say the barometer is wrong.
You think the barometer is wrong? You think Durban?
It's easy for me to say this, Faisal. I don't know which team UCT is going to field because they've got a big squad in Japan at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
UCT is big in Japan?
They're playing against other universities there, few games. So their first team basically going to miss this game. So again, that's why I say Durban. I don't know which team UCT is going to field, but.
So UCT doesn't have the same luxury as Stellenbosch in terms of playing all their best players.
They don't have that.
Faisal, surely we're getting to a final and a semi-final here. It would be important to have those guys here in Cape Town.
No, definitely. I think it's a final. It's a decider. You have opportunity now to win the league. I think you would want to obviously have your best players in that. But like I think what Jerome says, we're not sure who's going to rock up on Saturday. But I would think UCT going out there, they've got something to prove. I think I'm going to go with the barometer. I think just to be different.
Maybe they're flying the guys back for the game.
Just for the game, and then they'll fly back again.
Maybe they're flying them back for the game, right? So it's going to be a big game. Then let's just give us an idea that kickoff times for the Super League A games.
On Saturday, the kickoff times, I think it was 4:45. I think the big thing is we're trying to accommodate, and the challenge is obviously the other big match that's taking place, the Bokke against the All Blacks. The idea is having the first match starting immediately after that Bokke game to get the crowd support there. I would like to say when it comes to club rugby, we focus on club rugby, we play our games and that there. But I think this weekend it's a big match. A lot of people, a lot of interest in that, and let's support our country.
Yeah, of course, the World Cup, the Springboks kicking off the start of the World Cup, kicking off against the All Blacks. So I've made my prediction on that already, and the Springboks will play the All Blacks twice in the World Cup. They will play them in the opening match, and then they'll play them in the finals.
And win on Saturday? Any predictions?
Oh, no. Springboks will win this. So we've got it all in our favour.
There we go.
This is a World Cup. Well, let's talk about the World Cup a little bit later, but as far as I'm concerned, this is for us to lose. We've got everything working for us this year. This is the World Cup that we should take. And, Anyway, folks, we're going to take an ad break. Remember, if you wanted to win yourself a case of Score, now's your opportunity. 33090. Just SMS the word SCORE to 33090. You put yourself in the mix to win a case of Score. 33090, there you see it on the screen. Terms and conditions apply. And congratulations then to last week's winner, Calvin Jones. Calvin, that name sounds very familiar. I've got a feeling Calvin is a previous winner on Cape Rugby TV. All right, Calvin, someone from Cape Rugby TV is going to get hold of you, and you can collect your case of Score energy drinks. Okay, all that and more. Folks, when we come back from the break, we were, of course, out to watch the quarterfinals where Bellville were up against Vineyards. Last week, Jerome said it was going to be a Bellville victory. The barometer was in favour of Bellville. We'll take a look and see if he was right. Faisal Felton, what was your prediction
Bellville is Bellville.
Did you both say Bellville?
Yes,
Do we need to
yes.
rewind the tape?
You can rewind
you
the
said
tape.
that.
Both
Did we?
said
Okay,
Bellville.
I don't need to rewind the tape.
Neither at all.
Folks, we'll see you after the break. Don't go away. Right, welcome back, everybody. Let's just run through the times again so that you're aware of the clock on Saturday. We don't want anyone confused about the fixtures at City Park and the time schedules. So, Faisal, you just pointed out to me as well that City Park on Saturday has taken, the Western Province Union has taken into account the fact that it's the kickoff of the World Cup. Springboks kickoff at 11:45.
Yeah.
So they should be finished by 1:30 or so. Your first game at City Park kicks off at what time?
1:45.
At 1:45.
Yeah.
Right, folks, so you're going to have enough time to watch the Springboks play against the All Blacks and get down to City Park to watch the kick-off of the first game, which is, of course, the Super League C quarterfinals. Am I right?
That's correct, but I think come down to City Park, we're going to have the screens up.
Oh, you got some big screens there?
Yes, definitely.
All right, so you don't need to actually watch it at home and race to
No,
City.
you can come down to City Park, the screens will be up, and you'll be able to watch the game at City Park.
Fantastic. I mean,
that's good.
that's the kind of catering we're looking for.
No,
Big match temperament, big event.
No, definitely. I think, with the Springbok, we're hoping to maybe shift the Springbok time a little bit earlier. We couldn't get
Yeah, we're going
that
to give
right.
them a phone call from Japan. and say,
Couldn't
"Guys,
get
can
that
you-"
right to shift it so that we can cater for the club games. But like I said, come down, watch the Springbok game. Immediately after that is a kickoff and support your team.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. What is it that made Western Province take the decision to step it up this year?
No, I think definitely it's the crowd, the support, and obviously the clubs. You want to make a great day of it, fun, having a new sponsor as well. I think it's about rugby at the end of the day and trying to see how everything fits in. Make sure the fans and also the players make it an enjoyable day and get the fan the support behind your team.
So in that case, you actually want to get to City Park probably in time for the kickoff of the World Cup.
Definitely, and that's it.
Get there around 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
11:30?
11:30 gates will be open. I think it's 11 o'clock. So get down there early, secure your seat. It'll be a fun day. As I said, we'll have braaiing and there'll be lots to do.
Braaiing, and of course it's City Park Clubhouse there and so on. And parking, cost of the gate, any of that?
Yeah, 20 Rand at
20
the
rand.
gate and 20 Rand for your vehicle. I think, like I said, JP, I think it's the fact that the rugby's there on the day, but I think also the mere fact of meeting the other clubs and support and coming together, meeting, old fans and people.
Well, but you're putting some value on, so people are getting value for money.
No,
You're
definitely.
paying 20, 40 Rand to get in and park and have parking and get to watch a match on the big screen and then watch 3 club rugby games. You're not going to get value for money like that anywhere. If you want to go to the movies, you're going to pay a lot more than that. If you want to go to watch a concert, you're going to pay a lot more than that. In fact, I don't know where you can go nowadays and spend $40 and have a good... Right, let's move on then, folks. We'll take a look at the quarterfinal preparations. Vineyards were up against Bellville, and as they had to play out to get into the quarterfinals for the match at City Park this weekend. Let's take a look at the highlights. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. Right, there we go, folks. That was, of course, the first half of Bellville up against Vineyards. This game was vital to win, but I mean, I must give credit to Vineyards. Before we look at the rest, okay, Jerome, let's just focus on the first half. What did you make of the first half? Both teams had to go into this game. It was a must-win. If you lose here, you're out of the picture. Bellville goes into the halftime at 24-16. What do you make of the game halftime so far?
If I look at this first half, JP, it looks like Vineyards were all over the show. They were playing, they were under attack, they had more possession than Bellville, and two tries that they basically gave to Bellville, they intercept tries. You can't afford that against Bellville because they're all over.
Yeah.
And but Vineyards in that first half, if you look at that, then Vineyards were really in control.
Yep. Well, folks, we're going to go back to Jerome Parvater after we take a look at the second half. And for those of you that have not seen the final result online or were not at the game, you will not know which one of these two teams are going into the semi-finals on Saturday. So stay tuned, take a look at the second half, and then we'll give you the final score. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. Right, folks, there you have it. Your one of your next contenders, of course, full-time score, Bellville 37-23. Jerome, you say that looking at the game there, you reckon one of the big difference was fitness?
Yeah, it was, because just after halftime, Vineyards were in control again.
Yeah.
But slowly but surely, as the game continued, you could see that big forwards of Vineyards were walking, and that's where Bellville capitalized, and they always wait till the last 15 minutes.
A good season, though, Faisal, for Vineyards. They've had and I think that turnaround, that 1-point win for them over Franschhoek was also obviously worked for them in their favour. But they've had a good season. They'll be proud of their accomplishments this year.
No, definitely. I think they started off a bit shaky in that there, but I think they ended off well. I think at the beginning of the season they would have looked for a top 6 spot.
Yeah.
And I think they've done well. Like I said, that one game against Franschhoek turned everything around, got them into the top 6, and I think it's definitely a platform for them for next year going forward in that there. And like Jerome said, I think there's certain aspects. They played well. They were dominant in the first half. That intercept try, score could have been different. Small little things that I think they can work on, but definitely I think next year I think they will come out full force and definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and they've got some new sponsors, national security, I think, and a few others. So they're ticking boxes. They're doing what you need a club to do.
No, definitely. I think they've got a base in which to start building on, and that there's a few key positions, like Jerome said. But I think next year again, that Super League B is going to be I think I always still maintain it's the league that it's the most excitement in that there. So definitely next year, the guys know they've got to come with something different.
Right, folks, we'll take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we'll take a look at the teams that will be playing in Super League C. But let's quickly look at the fixtures for Super League B's quarterfinals on the weekend. It's, of course, Kales River up against Belleville and Hamlets up against St. George's. Right. In fact, when we come back, we'll also take a look at the barometer because we want to see what we think the performance is going to be in Super League B. Belleville versus Kales River and, of course, Hamlets versus St. George's. So we've got barometers still to look at, but when we play out now, we'll play out with some of the coaches and captains from Vineyards and Belleville. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy.
Well, firstly, well done to Belleville. I think they were ruthless, obviously, on our mistakes. And speaking of that, I think we weren't patient enough. We basically gave them 2 or 3 tries. And in a quarter-final, it's not going to be good enough for us.
I think we expected what's going to happen. We prepared ourselves. Especially Belleville is a team that you can never underestimate. They also have a goal on going further. And especially that we played on their home game. It was something new for us also. And we prepared ourselves well, but at the end of the game, Belleville wanted it more.
Ons het geen eens vir Vineyards onderskat nie. En ons het ons huiswerk op hulle gedoen, maar hulle het ons groot laat skrik vandag. Maar laastens wil ek net sê, dankie vir hy groot skare wat elke week uitkom na ons toe en vir ons ondersteun. Vir hulle wil ek baie dankie sê. Ek hoop ek sien hulle almal volgende week daar op City Park.
Knockout rugby is any team. You can't underestimate any team. They were good on the day. They gave us a real fright there. They got momentum. They got points on early in the board, and they pushed us back. I think the pressure we put on them, you always have to work hard. The guys worked hard to put pressure on them and got the loose balls. I think it was a scrappy game. We struggled to get momentum, but knockout rugby is all about putting points on the scoreboard.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. Welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV, we're talking about Western Province Club Rugby, and this weekend is the big weekend at City Park, of course, semi-finals. Before we go to the semi-finals, we're going to take a look now at the barometer. Kales River, Belleville, Faisal, let's just quickly touch on this. We spoke about the other component, which we haven't touched on at all, is the relegation side of things. Just run us through that. You have position 13 in Super League A, Super League B, Super League C. They have to go into playoffs. But the guys that ended up 15 and 14, they're automatically relegated into the lower league.
Yeah, 14, 15 automatically relegated. Position 13 is Super League A. Position 13 is Super League B.
Right.
They're basically waiting now to see who they will be playing.
How many teams in Super League C go down?
3 teams go down.
3 teams go down.
Yeah.
And then teams come up from the promotion league.
Yeah, teams come up from the promotion league. Will obviously be 3 teams coming up.
Right.
1 and 2 is automatically promoted,
Right.
and 3 and 4 will play against each other.
And then the one who ends up the third highest will get promoted.
Yeah,
Super League C.
they basically determine who's the third team that will go up. And then in Super League A, as I said, 13 will play against the losing. The semi-finals on Saturday will play against each other to determine who's going to be playing against position 13 in Super League A.
And we were talking about this. Basically, all of these teams at City Park, they're going to end up coming back to Newlands to play, not for the finals, but in the playoff determination game to see who ends third and fourth.
Correct, yeah. That's basically the teams in Super League B and Super League C, not Super League A.
This is why we need you on the show every week to guide us through this whole process.
Yeah, so just remember, it's just the Super League B and the Super League C. So the losing semi-finalists of Super League B will play against each other at Newlands on the 24th, and the losing semi-finalists of Super League C will play at Newlands on the 24th.
Right, folks, I hope that you got that. I hope you got that, because I'm going to have to rewind the tape to listen to Faisal's explanation, but I think I've got it. The most important thing that you need to know is that there are finals going to be at Newlands next week, Tuesday. Of course, that's the big day. Right, let's quickly look at the barometer before we jump too far ahead of things here, because this weekend at City Park, it's going to be the big playoffs. Kales River up against Belleville. This is now 2 up against 3. Jerome, you've got a cutting edge here. So the favor is in terms of Kales River, even though we take away the home ground advantage factor. Kales River are up on the attack factor. They're up on the defense factor. They've had a great season. They've got an 86% strike rate. Bellville has got a 79% strike rate, but that's not such a big difference between the two teams. Which way can this go?
Yeah, JP, I would like to call it a draw, but I can't do that. Look, everything looks in the favour of Kales River. We all know Bellville can score tries, Kales River can score tries. The big concern for Bellville is still the defence problem that they have. In games like this, you need to jack up your defence, and Kales River look like the favourites for this game.
Kales River looks like the favourites. You're going in favour. You know what, guys? I'm not going to put you on the spot today. You're just saying that Kales River looking good. Faisal, in your opinion, this is a very close game. I mean,
I think the one thing that Bellville's going to have in the favour is going to be the fans and the support. Even if it might be a small bunch, but they're very noisy. So they're going to make a lot of noise, and I think that's what's going to pull the team through.
Well, that means that the fan factor, in fact, would have. You see, I've always said we have to have a measure for fan factor. How do we measure the fan factor? It should be around how many fans you've got, how much entertainment do they do, how much mobile music do you do, how much do they put on Facebook, who takes pictures on Instagram. We need a fan factor measurement. At the moment, the fan factor measurement is purely about home ground advantage. You get 10 points just because you're at home. But we need to measure the fans. Like, I think that's what we were always talking about, is having a club rugby supporters club model. Like, every club must have a supporters club model. You've got a newsletter and a Facebook page and a YouTube channel and all sorts of stuff that goes on around your own club.
Maybe we must get the guys to
write down
to do a rating and listing in terms of support. And I think definitely it's something that the club should look at, and maybe, because definitely I think the fans definitely play a role in that. And I think, like with Bellville, I mean, I looked at a couple of clips and videos, and I think that's what's always pulled them through in that last 20 minutes that have given that extra bit. And yeah, definitely.
You guys think the fan factor for Bellville is going to be in their favour, but let me tell you something, Grant Albertine and the Kayla boys are going to come out on mass to City Park.
This morning, Chippy Solomons and myself had this discussion about what Faisal was saying now. So he believed that they have more people than Bellville. But I think Bellville is bigger than Kales River. Kales River is growing.
Of course, you and Chippy both
got to be careful.
You'll be going head to head, the two of you. I'm sure that the HPC is having. Let's look at the next game here, folks. This is, of course, 1 up against 5. Hamlet's up against St. George's. Big game this weekend. Hamlets have got it very much in their favour. St. George's have pulled some real rabbits out of the hat. They went and scored their victories over Helderberg, and they went to Franschhoek this weekend. Right, let's look there. Hamlets have got the advantage on pretty much every front here. Jerome, let's go to you. Hamlets' advantage in their favour on all levels. They're up against St. George's. Do you want to make a call?
Yeah, but I must say, JP, St. George's are also peaking at the right time, because they've, I think, 2 good wins in a row. So they're on a winning strike now. But Hamlet's also playing good rugby, so they won't want to back off now at this stage of the competition. So yeah, I'll go for Hamlets on this one.
Well, I think that if the barometer now we go the other way, 10 points for fan factor in this case, maybe Hamlets, we know them and their buses. The last time we saw 11 buses come down to Newlands, maybe the fan factor's not high enough here. Yeah,
no, I think from my side, I'm going to go with St. George's.
You're going to go with St. George's? Well, they just come off a good win against Franschhoek.
Yeah, I think the experience, and I think it's also, your league games is done and dusted. Everybody's actually forgotten about it. Everybody's now just talking about semi-finals and finals. And I think St. George's, they snuck in this past weekend against Franschhoek, and I think they've got that BMT, and they know they've got everything to play for.
Yeah, right, so, folks. Yeah. Big matches coming up then this weekend. Let's look at the fixtures then coming up for Super League C. It's Lunga, of course, after they scored a win against Penil Villages, 45-19. Scottsdene scored a 51-27 win over Strand United, and that puts them into the semi-finals this weekend, which will see Strand up against Scottsdene and Hands and Hearts take on Lunga. Let's quickly look at the barometer before we go to the ad break. Strand up against Scottsdene. That's 2 and 3. Jerome Parvater, Strand or Scottsdene?
It seems like Scottsdene's wheels are falling off a bit, so I'll go for Strand.
Strand has got the attack factor in their favour, whereas Scottsdene's got the defence favour. Faisal, do you want to make a call?
No, Strand for me as well. I think Strand is, they're going to be the surprise. I think, like Jerome said, Scott Steen have started off well. The question is this week if they can pull it through. But my choice, I think, for this week is Strand.
All right, Faisal's going with Strand. Let's look at the Hands and Hearts up against Langa. This is 1 and 4. Hands and Hearts have got it in their favour in terms of the fan factor, certainly, and more. They also have attack factor and defence factor in their favour. They've got a 93% strike rate, Jerome, versus Langa 79% strike rate. Can Langa score an upset here?
No, I think Hands and Hearts too much experience, so I'll go Hands and Hearts.
Hands and Hearts a little bit too much for them. Let's quickly take a look at the results then. In the Promotion League, it's Eerste Rivier with a win over Blakes. Hamadia's 37-45 loss against Masiphumelele, and Peninsula went down to CPUT, while Violets scored a victory over Noordlikes. Right, folks, Promotion League fixtures then this weekend. It's Blakes up against Masiphumelele, Eerste Rivier up against Albions, Violets against Hamadia's, and Noordlikes take on Peninsula. Right, let's quickly take a look at the results in the Paarl League. Lower Paarl 73-0 over Violets Paarl. Paarl Rangers 56-14 over Young Gardens. Riverstones with a win over Peril United. And Young Standards then drawing with Simondium. Let's take a look at the logs in the Paarl League. Lower Paarl sitting at the top. Paarl Rangers. These are all after 15 games. Riverstones, Allendale, Young Gardens, Simondium, Young Standards, Violets and Peril United. Folks, so we're going to take an ad break, and when we come back from the break, we'll be taking a look at the launch, the African Bank launch that was at Newlands on a Monday. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere, we'll be back in a sec. Right, folks, welcome back. Cape Rugby TV. We went out this Monday night to DHL Newlands, where it was the launch of the sponsorship African Bank on board with Western Province Rugby. Great to see sponsors coming on board. Let's take a look at some of the moments from the launch. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy.
I have to compliment and thank African Bank, who have, it took us 1 or 2 meetings, and they were, from the start, they were comfortable with Western Province and comfortable with Club Rugby. Let's give them a great warm reception for that. To African Bank, we want to say that Western Province Club Rugby is the backbone and bedrock of rugby in Cape Town surrounds, as well as far as the Western Cape.
Right, folks, with me now, and it's a rare opportunity, is the president of Western Province Rugby Football Union, Mr. Zelt Marais. Zelt, what a fantastic evening.
JP, I mean, this for us, it's awesome. We are so glad that African Bank could come on board to us. We have been in discussion since the beginning of the year, January, and this is the combination of all the hard work, continuing negotiation, and I'm going to repeat it again. I told him when I got in the first time, I want to make the African Bank the African dream, and with them partnering Western Province Rugby, they will become the African dream. Well, so we're very delighted and excited about our partnership with him.
Look across the room tonight, and there's tens and tens of clubs here, just under 100 different clubs here at Western Province Rugby, all potential clients who fit in with this fantastic brand, African Bank. It's a good fit.
Absolutely, JP. And as you can see, even the color blend, it's so splendid, basically, and it's probably what we call a godsend into them. And as you know, and the basis that we sold the whole concept and the mileage to Antrek, we've got the biggest rugby contingent almost in the world of clubs. And also when we get it into the schools later on, we're going to transfer it there. And maybe going forward, we want to see how we can take it to the whole Western Cape, maybe even to the Eastern Cape, basically. But we're going to be the driving force for African Bank, and to make sure, basically, that Western Province and African Bank grows together and become the middle partnership, as we set out to do.
Well, Zelt, you've certainly pushed the button, the call to action button there. We're going to leave it at that. Thank you very much for chatting with us.
We know thank you very much and giving me the opportunity. I'm feeling great. So let's go forward, and we will grow this brand together. Thank you very much.
We're looking forward to it. Fantastic. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. Welcome back, everybody. Fantastic to have a new sponsor there, Faisal. I mean, you guys must be thrilled about that.
No, very much excited in that. I think it's great to finally have a sponsor. I think the last we had a sponsor was when I started back in a couple of years ago. It was PSM, and I think to now finally have a sponsor on board now for club rugby is great. And hopefully this is a partnership that can grow. And it was good on Monday night to see all the clubs out there in support.
Yeah.
We had all the clubs there that evening. So hopefully we can grow it with African Bank and that day.
All right, well, let's catch up with the marketing managers and brand managers from African Bank. They spoke to us at the launch. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. Right, folks, with me now is KB Molo, of course, Head of Marketing for Africa Bank. KB, special day for you guys today.
Absolutely, what a big brand in Western Province Rugby. And an opportunity to partner with it is great. I'm so excited to see the number of clubs represented here, and I really think this is the first step in a great journey.
You've been involved personally with many sports brands. We listened to you speaking earlier on about the 4 Ps. We all know the 4 Ps of marketing. But tonight you mentioned the 5th P being province.
Absolutely. It's great to see how those basics of marketing actually end up playing a real role when you're talking live and real sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah.
So province, a huge sponsorship property, rugby in general, and the fact that it's club rugby, there's so many people involved, so many communities involved, the potential for this relationship, I think, is out of this world.
Glad to have you in Cape Town. Luckily the weather played out, and we hope to see you back soon.
No, thank you. I will be here. I'm definitely going to come to a number of these games, and hopefully we'll see a lot of good success from this relationship.
You'll see some serious passion. Nice
Absolutely.
meeting you.
Thanks.
Fantastic. Good luck.
Thank you, kindly. Cool.
Reg mense, ons is hier by DHL Nieuweland, die tuiste van WP Rugby, en saam met my is Felicia Robinson. Sy is natuurlik die hoof van bemarking vir African Bank in die Weskaap. Felicia, julle is seker lekker trots vanaand?
Ons is baie bly vir al die mense wat opgekom het. Ek dink ons het bietjie minder verwag. So baie dankie aan Western Province Rugby Union. En dit sê ook vir ons het die regte besluit gemaak.
Maar wat is dit wat julle oorspronklik laat gedink het hierso waar ons moet inspring?
So ons het 'n passie om saam met die community te werk en ek dink dit was vir ons 'n groot opportunity en Western Province het my gekontak en natuurlik het ek ook die potensiaal gesien in Western Province want daar is regtig waar met al die klubs is daar baie wat gedoen kan word.
Ek dink WP is verskriklik trots op die feit dat julle betrokke is en ons sien dat julle nog groot spore gaan trap saam.
Ons gaan beslis. Baie dankie, dis lekker om weer te wees.
Dankie dat jy ons gesels het.
Dankie.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. Right, folks, there you go. Fantastic to get sponsors in at club rugby level. Jerome, nice to have a sponsor come on board with the Western Province Union.
Yeah, definitely. As Faisal was saying earlier on, it's long overdue, and I think the clubs deserve something over the years for what they've been putting in.
Yeah.
So it's good if Western Province can give back a little bit to them. It can help them. It's tough times out there. Clubs are doing their best, so it's good if Western Province can help them a bit.
And of course, the primary goal, your initial goal, Faisal, is the Super Challenge. Is that the name that we're of the semi-finals, the quarterfinals, City Park, Newlands? That's it.
No, definitely, JP, as Jerome says, I think ultimately from the union side, it was all about, I would say, building the product, that we can go out there, we can get a sponsor, and like I said, finally now getting that sponsor on board, having them part of the Super Challenge, which is great. Like I said, and it definitely it's something for the future, next year, hopefully they're coming on board and we can get hopefully a bigger sponsor.
Come on board, stay on board.
Stay on board, there we go, for the next couple of years. But I think again, ultimately I think from the clubs, we've got the support, and like Jerome says, I think from the union side, we want to see how we can support. It's tough times and everybody's out there struggling. It'll be good where we can go out and we can actually start supporting a lot more of our clubs and that.
Okay, just on a final note, so everybody knows out there, Saturday, what time do you get to City Park?
Bright and early. Gates open, I would say, about 11 o'clock.
Gates open about 11.
11 o'clock, get there early, watch the kickoff of the World Cup. And then 1:45, first game starts on the A and the B field, 2 matches. And next game will be at 3:15, and then I think it's 5:45.
All right, so it's a full day of action. Get there about 11 o'clock. You get to watch the start of the World Cup, the Springboks up against the All Blacks on Saturday at City Park. And then, Faisal, next week, Tuesday, Heritage Day, as we've done for a number of years now, is another big day at Newlands. The teams will be playing in the finals, and you're working out your 3 and 4th place playoffs. So 5 games at Newlands. When does that start? Tell us quickly about that day.
So gates will open at 8 o'clock. First game is at 10, kick-off, with the final game kicking off at 4 o'clock. 5 matches, full day.
Yeah.
Heritage Day, as you know, or Braai Day. So we'll have braaiing and stuff and facilities and that for the full day. So it's going to be exciting. Come out and support your team.
Does it cost anything to get into Newlands? Can you bring your own meat? Obviously no alcohol.
No, it's 20 Rand entry and at there on the day. Braai facilities will be available, but yeah, everything will be purchased at Newlands.
Fantastic. 20 Rand entry fee to Newlands to go and watch rugby at Newlands for 20 Rand. You can't beat that. Jerome, let me quickly finish up with you. The Springboks up against the All Blacks this weekend. Your victory prediction for the Springboks, how big will the margin be?
It's gonna be close, JP. But I think I've heard now it's the second time that the Springboks, or the first time ever that the Springboks have the same squad, the same team that played the previous game. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And I think if they can build on that, they can only move forward. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a close one, but I think the Springboks by 3.
Faisal, Jerome's
There's only one choice.
If I know what's going to happen, they're going to put Herschel up the last 10 minutes, and he's going to score the winning try.
Score the winning try, yes.
So, Faisal, Jerome predicts that we're going to score the winning try by a Western Province player. But on another note, super proud for Western Province to have the Springboks led, the nation being led by a Western Province rugby player.
No, definitely. I think it's great having Western Province again represented. It just shows, the magnitude and size of Western Province in that. And like Jerome says, I think there's only one choice on Saturday. There's no other predictions. It's Springboks. It's going to be very close. I tend to agree with Jerome. I think Herschel now, the last couple of games and that comes on and he shows the magic. Definitely, it's going to be a 5-point. I'll put it 5 points. That last try.
It's true what you say. Rassie Erasmus was directed Western Province Rugby. Met Proudfoot was the forward coach at Western Province Rugby.
Yeah.
Jacques Ninaber was the defense coach.
Yeah.
So it's a Western Province show.
It's a Western Province World Cup. That's fantastic. Right, gentlemen, we'll see you at City Park on Saturday. Looking forward to that. I'm not even going to ask you your rugby plans for the weekends. To everybody else out there, we'll see you again next week, same time, same place. But we will definitely see you at City Park on Saturday. Get there, be there by 11. And don't forget, of course, next week, Tuesday, you will be able to get down to Newlands. The gates open at 8 o'clock for a full day of rugby at Newlands as well on Heritage Day. That's a wrap from us. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.